Hello and welcome to our synopsis of Final Fantasy 3. We just completed the game and we are going to touch a bit more on our experience, what we liked about the game, disliked about the game, and some of the overall themes that the game retains compared to the rest of the series. We will be touching on Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3 in the summary, so please just be aware that there will be spoilers. I don't want to ruin it for anyone, so be warned, spoilers for Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3. So Final Fantasy 3 begins with the youth Luneth, who falls into a cave and discovers the Wind Crystal. Upon discovering this crystal, Luneth is told to gather the other warriors and return. Along the way, we must defeat foes that seek to prevent us from gathering the crystal's power, and assist villages along the way in this quest. The game opens up a lot more later on when you discover you have lived on a floating continent up until now, and the world below you has had all time stopped and been plunged into darkness. With this newfound knowledge and the power of some of the crystals, along with the party members you meet along the way, you begin to bring the fight to the darkness on the lower continent. For context, in my playthrough of this game, I played the Steam port of the remake of this game. I believe that there is going to be a different intro for the original version. But yeah, there was a lot this game did right, and as we've played more Final Fantasy games, it seems later on you kind of get more in-depth stories, in-depth gameplay in terms of the combat, and it definitely just kind of lends to a richer and more fulfilling experience in my opinion. I believe the strongest things in this game is the side content available, the variety of job systems, or the variety of the job system, and the story progress. I'm a big proponent of side content as I feel it adds to depth to the world. When the people around you live lives and need assistance, it makes the world a world worth saving. In general, when you kind of have people just saying bless the crystals like Final Fantasy 1, it feels like there's not life to the world. So if something's gonna blow up the world, like, why do you even care? The job systems in the game are varied as well, and they kind of ensure that on future playthroughs you're always gonna have another way to play the game, and there are jobs in this game. I think there's, over 15, 20 jobs. There's so many compared to like Final Fantasy 1, where you only get like you get more than triple what you get in the very first game. Touching on the last point that I made, the story told in this game is one of the most in-depth ones yet. There's twists, turns that I just didn't see coming. When you speak about, a little bit of a spoiler here, but when you speak about Final Fantasy 2 and the fact that Leon was a Dark Knight, that was kind of something that we anticipated, and we even mentioned it before it occurred. But in this one, you find out you're living on a floating continent, the world below is plunged into darkness. I could never have thought that would happen. I could have never thought in my mind, like, oh, obviously the world's in darkness and time has stopped. Like, that's, no, who thinks about that? Overall, I think these are the things that made the game incredibly good, a fantastic experience, and it's worth playing. It's 100% worth playing. As I mentioned, of course, there is a lot of good in the game, but where there is good, there is bad. I think some of the weaker points in the game, the leveling of the job systems is kind of rough. Some of the NPC actions and some arguably missed opportunities in the tougher optional enemies of the game. If I'm honest with you guys, it's kind of difficult touching on some of the things I disliked because I really did like this game. So even amongst the things I disliked, they're actually not that big of a deal. The biggest thing I would argue is the leveling of the job system. It's kind of improved with the auto battle in the Steam version, so you don't have to select attack each time. But there's also maybe some potential, maybe an item that you get late game that increases the job leveling rate. They could have incorporated something like that. If they were kind of to introduce something, maybe the legendary blacksmith could have it if it's not at endgame. Just something that makes it less tedious, because it felt, I leveled up all the jobs personally, so I leveled up all the jobs at level 25, and it felt like that was a good level to kind of experience the jobs. but there's so many. It takes hours and hours and hours, and potentially the argument is maybe the developer doesn't want you to max everything. They just want you to like choose a job and go with it, and then on a future playthrough choose a different job, things like that. But at the core of it, I do think this is an opportunity to maybe make a little bit better. Getting to some of the smaller things I think could be improved, and these really are small things. Some of the NPC actions felt odd, and not even like the main characters. Specifically, I complained about this during the playthrough, but the pianos and the dancing ladies, like, they felt impactful when we interacted with them, but then it turns out that they didn't matter at all. Like, they had no story concept to them. They just kind of danced and then said, "Watch me dance." And it could be a reference to something that I just don't know. Like, maybe they're referencing another game and it's going over my head. That is completely possible. But it's a little bit misleading when you see that in the game and you think it matters. It's debatable on whether or not that's a good or a bad thing, though, because you don't always want, you don't want your Skyrim level, like, this is your quest marker, go straight, go left, go right. You don't always want a set path of, like, this is exactly, like, this is your railroad track and you're gonna follow it and have a good time. You don't always want that, but it was a little bit disorienting for me to think, like, do these guys matter? Do they not? Where am I? Who am I? All those critical questions, right? In terms of the final optional bosses, another kind of a small thing, we defeated Iron Giant. I think it would have been cool if they either increased the difficulty of Iron Giant, so like he scales to your stats more, or if after defeating him, a little bit of a different take, if he's available as a summon. Because you defeat Iron Giant, you get the medal card as proof that you defeated him, but then it doesn't seem to matter. Like, you get that, but like there's no actionable gameplay outside the battle, which, the battle itself is good gameplay, so maybe that's enough. But I think that if he was available as a summon, that would be kind of nice as well, and also kind of cool. Defeat the final boss with the hardest optional boss, right? Would be a good time. And he is the toughest boss outside of the Cloud of Darkness, because Cloud of Darkness does, max damage, insta-kill. So it's hard to be stronger than that. Overall, though, this game for me was overwhelmingly positive. Exceptionally charming references to the traditional Final Fantasy content, such as Cid, Chocobos, Warriors of Light, the eternal struggle for balance between light and darkness. I definitely recommend a playthrough. I think one of the biggest things about the playthrough as well that it will offer is it offers insight to the Warriors of Darkness. And that is actually an important concept, because what this game kind of states is too much light is bad. So, you want darkness as well. Too much darkness is bad. There's a balance between them that the game offers, and it's definitely fantastic to experience. But anyways, thank you guys so much for kind of listening to my rant of Final Fantasy 3. A great experience. I look forward to the other ones. 3 down, many more to go, right guys? See you guys later. Have a wonderful day.